Last week, 35,000 people took to the streets of Dunedin to protest the recent announcement of downgraded plans for the Dunedin Hospital. The announcement was made by Minister for Delivering Bad News, Chris Bishop, seen here recreating his favourite scene from Lord of the Rings, where Saruman uses the Palantir to talk to Sauron. Joined Health Minister Dr. Shane Reti to deliver the news. The reason given was a potential cost blowout of up to $3 billion, which was only acceptable for tax cuts, apparently. On Sunday afternoon, an altercation, or Sunday morning actually, about 2 o'clock, an altercation in Wellington's Dixon Street after the last All Blacks versus Wallabies game has resulted in a diplomatic scuffle as police have requested diplomatic immunity be removed from the partner of an Australian diplomat. Part of the holdup is because Australian understanding of diplomatic immunity laws were based on feedback from Mel Gibson after he filmed Lethal Weapon 2. Sovereign citizen Richard Civil, seen here about to tip his fedora and screech "Milady" to some poor woman he's seen on the street, was this week convicted for threats he made against the lives of public figures before he went on the run from police. During the trial, he tried and failed to use what the judge called pseudo-law gobbledygook. Interesting bonus fact for you all: no sovereign citizen argument has ever, in any court in the world, been successful, because it's made up bullshit. Police revealed he'd been caught in Te Puke, after a 3-hour standoff, and police were led to him because of comments he made on a social media channel linked to alt-right counterspin media that a public informant had told them about, highlighting that police are not monitoring these channels. Upon conviction, Civil seemed shocked that his made-up mumbo-jumbo hadn't worked and his constant spouting of conspiracy theories was so prolific it led to his capture. So much so that his only comment after conviction was, "I am speechless," which would have avoided this whole problem if he'd just started off and stayed that way. Minister for Tobacco, Casey Costello, seen here watching a smoker quit smoking, has this week fronted media for the first and, if she has her way, final time since controversial law changes that match tobacco company talking points mysteriously ended up in her hands after law changes around heated tobacco products kicked in this week. The independent evidence that she promised media to justify tax rebates to Philip Morris were, in fact, out of date and funded by tobacco lobbyists, which should come as no surprise since her work at Hobson's Pledge also entailed dealing with things well past their use-by date that are full of poison and spread toxicity. Te Whatu Ora was reported to be on track for a near $1 billion deficit after financial reports. Health New Zealander Commissioner Lester Levy, seen here announcing that the new policy that laughter is the best medicine because it's free, so he won't have to pay for it, forgot to bring to select committee hearings last month. They were finally made public. The report mentions a number of one-off costs and events like back pay, holiday pay, and leave pay being paid out, which are legal requirements and shouldn't be cast as an issue that's causing problems with the health sector that lead to the deficit. But never once actually mentions the fact that Te Whatu Ora is a business, so the idea of turning a profit is not how they should be looking at it. An operational deficit is actually technically a shortfall in funding. But who needs fully funded working healthcare systems when you've got vibes? Government modelling released to RNZ under the Official Information Act shows new oil and gas exploration plans are not likely to see any results for at least a decade. According to the official advice, that means that the short-term impacts on energy supply, which the government lied about to try and justify the decision, and emissions that the government tried to downplay caused by the process will actually be much smaller than expected. But much like the public submission process itself, which only had 4 days that people could get their feedback in, said Shane Jones, Minister of Stripping Resources at Any Cost, seen here knowing that he who smelt it dealt it, rubble, rubble, rubble. Don't give a shit what you have to say. Simeon Brown, seen here realizing what Shane Jones is talking about when he said he who smelt it dealt it, this week announced the reversal of blanket speed reductions around schools, but put in place under what he claims was the previous Labour government. These reductions were actually put in place by local authorities based on public feedback and screeds of international research on the topic. During the announcement, Brown said, "Sure, some of your kids may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make." Ex-party leader David Seymour, seen here cosplaying as Paul Rubens as Pee Wee Herman in more than a single photo can actually really portray, had past claims that he never received an official invite to the final public engagement of Kingi Tuheitia before his death, the Koronehana. They've been shown to be false, with official emails between the Prime Minister's office and Seymour being released. Seymour's office said, well, it contained Māori words, so naturally we ignored it. Finance Minister Nicola Willis, seen here trying an old Jedi mind trick to make everyone ignore the economy she tanked, promoted the start of new ECE funding model Family Boost as it came into effect this week. Under the new system, parents must pay for childcare costs up front and every quarter fill out paperwork to reclaim their expenses in what the government is calling a streamlined process that will somehow see families better off. When asked to explain how it works, Nicola Willis pulled out a piece of string and a pack of pins. Today is the final day Destiny Church leader Brian Tamaki, seen here greeting his supporters in the traditional manner they're accustomed to, as well as co-defendants, could file their responses to the High Court in the defamation case being brought against them by Rainbow Storytime. It comes after Tamaki raged at the census data, which showed that the population of the Rainbow community made up almost 5% of the total population in the country, and one of his staunchest defenders on the North Shore was marched out of Birkenhead Library by police and trespassed for illegally filming and threatening behaviour, which included destroying a display that included a rainbow. In which it comes as no surprise because for some of you who've been around for a while, you might remember the story from last year where I was chased down and yelled at by a Destiny Church member on the North Shore. Same guy. Anyway, Tamaki, the self proclaimed free speech advocate, has also threatened to unleash his totally not a gang man up on pro Palestinian protesters this weekend if the Prime Minister didn't step in and stop them. And finally, Aotearoa New Zealand has reclaimed the world record for the largest haka ever performed. The previous record, held by the French, was smashed as 10,000 people at Eden Park performed the most well-known haka, ka mate. Participants included US talk show host Conan O'Brien and filmmaker Taika Waititi. In the crowd, National Party MP Paul Goldsmith watched, saying afterwards, "That was nice. Not let's celebrate our unique culture and Indigenous place in the world stage and find ways to ensure equitable outcomes that protect both the culture and those people. Nice, but, still interesting to watch." Anyway, that's it for the news this week. Done and dusted. Wait, you're still here? It's over. Go find another video.